So, here we are in the Peace Park today. This tour we're going to be looking at taking you around the Peace Park into a few corners that we don't usually go to, and then we're going to go over to the secret waterfall, which is just along the coast from here, and quite spectacular. Have you been to the waterfall before, Becca?
No.
No. So this will be a first. So we're at the Peace Park. What do you like about the Peace Park, Bex?
Everything. It's a really beautiful place to come to. Very peaceful.
Yeah, it's at the moment there's not so many tourists around, of course, so it is very serene here today. The Peace Park, of course, has a really interesting history, and we're gonna touch on that as we go around today. And still holds a very, very important place in the hearts of, I think, all Okinawans and I think everybody that visits here. Every time I come here, it's kind of a sobering experience, but also kind of reminds me of how lucky we are, how grateful we should be for what we have. So I thought what we do today is kick off by taking a look at one of the pieces of art or memorials which always struck me as kind of capturing, let's say, some of the atmosphere of what it was like to go through that war experience as an Okinawan and having to try to survive through that experience. And we're going to swing around and take a look at that afterwards. But right now we're looking at the very iconic tower behind us, the Hall of Peace. And some of you guys already know, but what's inside the Hall of Peace?
Inside there's a giant golden Buddha inside that's about 15 feet tall. It's like definitely two or three meters high, and it's worth going in there to have a look. And it's also where they hang up all of the thousands of cranes that all the school children make each year.
Yeah, so the cranes are sort of a prayer for peace, right? There's a sort of a tradition in Japan that as a prayer for peace you make in advance before you go to visit somewhere. You make origami paper cranes and string them together, and make 1,000 cranes and string them together is a prayer for peace, which you then take and leave at the place that you're visiting. And we often see these at different locations around Okinawa that particularly have a connection to the war. So another location down here in the south and not far away from here that we have visited a number of times is the Navy underground headquarters. It's the old tunnel complex. It was the bunker headquarters for Admiral Ota and the Japanese Navy there, and the place where they ultimately took their lives, and many other people perished. And that also always has the strings of cranes, the prayers for peace there as well. I think if you were thinking about kind of two locations in the south to visit to get a feeling or an understanding of the World War II history here, then I would say probably this location and the Navy Underground headquarters are probably the two that I would pick.
I'd probably choose here, and then the cave down the street for the school nurse, the Himawari Museum.
Yes. Yeah, we went there actually recently, and yeah, there's probably just about 2 or 3 kilometres down the street from here is the cave to the brigades of schoolgirl nurses, many of whom perished because they were pulled right into the heart of the battle alongside the Japanese forces. And actually, I've just realised that there's a memorial just over here to all of the school units that were drafted into the military, and we're going to go and take a look at that in a minute as well. Okay, so shall we get moving? All right.
Okay, so if we spin around from the Peace Memorial Hall there, right opposite that, you've got this building.
So this, I think, is just an iconic construction. And as we walk down here, let's just tell you a little bit about where we are. Many of you who are online now know us and have been to Okinawa themselves, but for those of you who haven't, we're here in Okinawa, Japan. It's the southernmost island and prefecture of modern Japan. Okinawa itself has a long history as an independent kingdom when it was called Ryukyu, and then became called Okinawa when it was annexed into the nation of Japan around the time of the Meiji Restoration, around the 1870s. Since that time, Okinawa has kind of developed with a culture that's been a real mix. A mix of its original kind of Okinawan identity, along with a lot of trade with China along the way, other Southeast Asian nations, and Japan, of course. Today Okinawa is, I think, one of the best places to live in the world. If I'm honest, I've been living here for 11 years, and yeah, probably think it's the best place I've lived. Becca, you've been here?
6.
6 years?
6.
And what do you think about Okinawa?
Well, if I didn't like it, I would have probably left by now. Considering the plan was to only stay for sort of 2 or 3 weeks or then a year, so
Is it? So
it kind of grows on you.
It does. Okinawa is a place of great contrast. It's a beautiful tropical island. The people are very, very friendly and welcoming, but it does have these very tragic episodes in its history. And of course, the one that is most recent and had the most impact was the fact that it suffered tremendous losses during the Second World War. And where we are today is the Peace Memorial Park, the Heiwa Kinen Koen. And this park was constructed in the
1975.
1975, in the 70s, and contains monuments and statements for peace, not just for peace here, but for worldwide peace. And indeed contributions from prefectures all over Japan, various artists. The one that we were just looking at here, and got the blue sheets underneath there, but this one was constructed to reproduce the feeling of a cave. Many of the Okinawans took refuge in caves during the Typhoon of Steel and the Battle of Okinawa. Okinawa has lots of natural caves, and this monument, the Peace Hill, which was created in June 2001 by Fujinami Koji. The idea was to reproduce the cave, and the idea that the inhabitants escaped into a basement part of it. So it's kind of dark and gloomy down there, but with a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak. So the park's open all year round, and I think it's probably one of the most visited destinations in Okinawa. There's one time in the year in particular when there's an important ceremony here. Talking about Irei no Hi. What date's that?
Oh, that's the 23rd of June. On the 23rd of June, that's the day that all the fighting stopped, right?
That's
During
right.
the war.
Yeah, that was the final day when the few Japanese forces that were left down here, taking refuge in this very spot, basically surrendered. And actually the senior officers, led by Ushijima, committed suicide. He actually committed seppuku, and that was the end of the Japanese resistance here.
Just want to show you here on the left the monument we have over here. This is probably one of my favorite monuments inside the park. This one, which basically says that life is highest treasure that you can have.
So in Japanese, Inuchiru takara. Well, that's actually the Okinawan way of reading it. Inuchiru takara. Inuchi koso saiko no takara de aru. So life is the highest treasure.
And it's nice that they've put this as the one of the first things you see as you walk down into the park.
You know, I noticed the other day that some of the ambulances in Okinawa, some of the paramedics have that written on the side of the ambulance as well.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So on the left here we have a really beautiful pond, just over there, and there are some fish and little like tadpoles and stuff in there as well. They seem to really focus on the small details inside the park, which is really nice, I think.
So the Peace Park is kind of laid out over a long, thin sort of campus with the museum at the eastern side, and then going off along the coast and up to the west, memorials from the different prefectures of Japan. And the centerpiece, which we're going to come to in just a little bit, is the Eternal Flame and all of the stones which hold the names of every single person who perished during the Battle of Okinawa, both civilians and military, and from all countries and ethnicities. That's to our left. What we're going to do is just walk a little bit further up to the mausoleum.
Yeah, this was quite a newish discovery for me that I only found sort of in the last year or two. That if you go all the way up and around to the back of the park, even further on than a lot of the prefectural monuments, they actually have the mausoleum up there.
The mausoleum literally contains the ash and the bones of 180,000 people. Is that?
That's what it says.
It's quite mind-boggling to think about the number of people that perished. I think the official estimate is that maybe 250,000 people perished in total during the conflict. It was called the bloodiest battle of the Second World War. And the Battle of Okinawa went on for
88 days.
88 days from from March through to...
Yeah, I mean,
September.
I think it was the 24th of March they landed on Zamami, and then on the 1st of April they got to Okinawa, and it all started on this island.
That's right. So what does that mean today? It means today in Okinawa almost every single family has some direct connection through relatives they lost, or friends that were lost, or property that was lost, or families that were displaced, etc., etc., treasures that were lost. Every single family still has pretty much an active and sort of living connection to this episode of their history. It is very much still alive in the hearts of and the minds of Okinawan people, and I think very much contributes to the very strong desire for demilitarization and peace that many Okinawans share. We know, as students of karate, that many of the karate teachers, the Okinawan, the prominent karate teachers of the past, stressed that they hope that karate will become a vehicle for friendship, developing friendship and developing world peace through developing each person as a better person, and all of that contributing to a better society, and therefore less need for war and conflict. So we're walking along, we're really close to the coast here actually. We're just on the ridge and going into the area where there are peace memorials donated and constructed from each prefecture across Japan.
So with that, like this one,
So this one is from Ehime Prefecture.
and they're all very, very different designs and different styles, different sizes. But the park is very, very big. It goes on and on for quite a long way along the ridge.
Yeah, usually when we come down here with groups, friends, and done tours in the past, we'll easily be here for 3 hours, 4 hours, half a day, no problem at all. There's so much that you can go and see here, additional things you can go and see. Not to mention, and least of which is there is a beautiful piece of coastline and beach just down below Suicide Cliffs. So we're up on the ridge here, we're up on the cliffs, and the local name for this area is Mabuni, but it became known as Suicide Cliffs during the war because unfortunately at the end of the war, when what was left of the Japanese forces and the civilians that were grouped in with them were being squeezed further and further down to this last spot, things became so desperate that the Japanese forces started to commit suicide, and they actually convinced or compelled many civilians to do the same. Jumping off the cliffs here was one of the things that they did. Often it was families, mothers and children, and it was a truly tragic episode. This is one of the bigger, more impressive memorials from Aichi Camp.
Yeah, and I can hear the ocean. So if we just go to the edge of this one, we should be able to see down. There's a big boat. So there's a really beautiful view from up here.
Check this out. This is just an amazing view. It's low tide, so you get a great view of the reef here as well.
What do you think that boat over there is?
That's a navy boat to me.
Yeah, it doesn't look like a fishing one, does it? What's really beautiful about the park is you've just got the absolutely enormous park that's completely full of nature, and then right next to it you've got the ocean and the beauty of the ocean that's here. What's really sad is you can just imagine the amount of people that ended up deciding to jump off of these cliffs, and how desperate you must feel to want to have to do that. Okay, so we're gonna keep going. If you haven't ever been up to this side of the Peace Park, I definitely recommend coming up here.
One of the things you can find in the museum here are testimonies or eyewitness accounts to the experience of going through the war and surviving the war. Despite the fact that so much was destroyed during the typhoon of steel, particularly in the southern part of the island, of course testimonies and eyewitness accounts remain. And this is something that is revisited on Ire no Hi, on the 23rd of June every year. There are actually times when those that were alive at that time recall what the experience was like. In fact, in my wife's family, there are a number of elderly relatives who survived the war, often took their siblings with them, and walked, ran, escaped up to the north of the island, did the long walk up there and back again. Sometimes 2 or 3 times they did that walk. And then, as with all other Okinawan residents, survivors, they ended up in the internment camps for quite a period of time while the American forces were securing the island. And then eventually were allowed to return to their homes. Unfortunately, many of them had lost their homes, either through the bombardment, destruction, or through the forced acquisition of land to be used for US bases. And this, of course, remains a bone of contention for many Okinawans. It has also, of course, on the other hand, been a source of wealth and a source of economic benefit. Many Okinawan families have benefited from the rents that they eventually received for the acquisition of their land, the requisition of their land. So it's a complex picture, but the Peace Park gives us a very important component or aspect of understanding both this wartime history, but also the Okinawa that we enjoy today as well.
So here we are. We're at the mausoleum, where they say that there's 180,000 people's remains in here, which after the war they would have I guess collected everybody up.
It really blows the mind to think about death on that scale.
It really does, and to me it really looks like they've designed it like an Okinawan castle. And what's really interesting to me that I read the other day was that in Ire no Hi last year, on the Memorial Day last year, they wanted to do the peace ceremony up here, but the Okinawans were quite against doing it up here.
I wonder if they didn't want to disturb the spirits of the ancestors, or whether it was something more political than that.
Probably politics.
Yeah.
It's usually politics. But also the Okinawans are very, very respectful of.
Indeed. I'm going to just spin you around so you can just see the reverse view here as well. There's nobody else up here. It's so quiet and peaceful up here. We can hear the birds chirping, the waves breaking. It really is wonderful.
It really is, and it makes me think of us. The last time we did the walk was to remember the people in the war that had to do the walk, and it will definitely be a part in my mind as we're walking up again, albeit maybe slightly different routes and different locations, but
indeed. Let's just spin you around just for a second here. Yeah, so here we go.
it follows you.
Yeah, I'm driving now, which means that you're all going to get slightly car sick, I suspect. Yeah. So yeah, as Becca was referring to, we retraced the steps actually of the people that were escaping the Battle of Okinawa, particularly those who were escaping from Naha. We retraced that route about 2 years ago now, and did our long walk. At that time, 117 kilometres we walked, and it was special. It was special for lots of reasons, not least that we were, in our minds, contemplating the hardship that the Okinawans went through, particularly because many of them, of course, were very young. In fact, I say my wife's relatives, the eldest was 14, and she looked after 5 younger siblings, successfully kept them all alive through that whole experience of walking all the way up to the north of the island and back. So we're going to do another walk. This time retracing the steps of some of the old karate masters, in particular first Matsumura Kosaku, who was a legendary karate master who had a fight with a samurai and had to escape up to the north of the island and take refuge. We're going to then proceed to go on right up to the north of the island to visit some of the sites which featured in the recent Cobra Kai Karate Kid series. And loop back round down through Higashi, the east coast, to end up at Henoko, which is a controversial location right now because of military construction project that's going on there right now. So during our walk, you know, we're hoping to see kind of all aspects of Okinawa, really. We're going to be revisiting a lot of locations that we know quite well, also searching out some new ones, and we'll be sharing that as much as we can online with you guys too.
For sure, and I think along the way it will maybe show them and also emphasize to us just how many memorials to the war and how many places on the island there is still that reminder that they just don't want it to be forgotten.
Yes, indeed. Absolutely. The spirit of striving for peace, wanting peace above all, is still something that's very, very strong. And you know, I think it's incredibly important.
In the culture and how they deal with like everyday sort of situations and things. You can just see how it's inbuilt to sort of maybe not get too upset or not cause fights over sort of things that really aren't so much of a big deal.
And I think a spirit of compromise, you know, and the idea not to go get into a violent confrontation as a preference, but really only as a, you know, absolute last resort. And I think that's a good way to live, right? You shouldn't be fast. I think it was Miyagi Chojun, who was, you know, founder of Goju-ryu Karate, who said you should be slow to raise your fists and quick to lower your temper. And it's a good maxim to live by. Okay. So I'll spin you around. Here we go.
So we're going to head back down now to the cornerstone of peace, where there is the flame of peace, and there's all of the monuments with the names of everybody that they know about who died, and they're always adding more.
Indeed, yes. Often they'll discover some new remains and add those people to a list of the deceased.
I've never seen them pine trees in bloom. I wonder if that's the yellow bitweed.
Could be. Yeah, look at that.
Oh, interesting.
It's the tree ferns, the sotetsu.
I just still it's very, very fitting that they put them here.
Indeed. Yeah, there's a story that goes along with these tree ferns, these sotetsu, which is that they were sort of a last resort source of nutrition for the Okinawans. They are toxic, they're actually very inedible, but when the worst came to the worst, and I was told this by Hokama sensei, who actually was a young child in the immediate aftermath of the war, that you can take the sotetsu, take the pulp out from the center of the stem. It's toxic, but if you boil it and boil the toxins out and then dry it and pound it into a powder, you can sort of use it like flour to make bread. He said it tastes absolutely awful, but it will keep you alive, and that's apparently what the Okinawans did when they had to. So just take a look at this view here over the park before we head down from the ridge. This is just quite a spectacular view. And,
maybe you can see just how big it is and how much there is to explore.
great view of the museum over there, the tower on the Hall of Peace.
I would definitely recommend people coming here for the first time to come here and actually go into the museum. So I think a lot of karateka that come, from what I've picked up from them, is it's a place they want to come, but it's not really a place they've got, like, they don't have a lot of time on the trips, and so usually it kind of maybe gets crossed off the list, or they just quickly visit and have a quick look at the outside. But I definitely recommend, like, I feel like it gives you a better understanding of the whole island's culture, and maybe even sort of all the sensei's culture, because all of our senseis are the age bracket where they would have lived through this.
Indeed.
And so it really helps, I think.
You're right. I think you're absolutely right. It very much helps you to understand the clearly the visible remains of the history here and the visible memorials, but it also might prompt you to think about almost the invisible aspects of the legacy here, which is more to do with sort of the fact that Okinawans tend to have a very strong belief that their ancestor spirits remain, and they retain a connection with their ancestors that have passed away. And so I think as a Westerner, where maybe we might not have that sense, when we come to this kind of place, we see stones and monuments, and it has an emotional impact, but it's probably different for an Okinawan who comes here and perhaps has a feeling that this is a place where they can connect with the actual spirits of their family members who have passed away. And there are many times in the Okinawan calendar when Okinawans sort of revisit their ancestors, either at the family tombs or in the shrines in their houses. But Ire no Hi, as we mentioned earlier, the 23rd, when many families will come down here and pray for peace, is also, I think, another one of those times. Okay. Go on through. Okay, so we're here now at the, what's the official name for this, Becca?
All of it is called the Cornerstone of Peace.
Cornerstone of Peace.
The flame and the actual stone and all of these stones are the cornerstone of peace.
Right.
And the last count was 117 of these stones.
117 of these stones with 180,000 names.
No, there's 250,000 names.
250,000 names.
They don't care whether you're American, wherever you're from, and you died in the war here, you get your name on
everybody's listed here. You're right. You're absolutely right. In fact,
so we're in the Japanese section right now, but sort of there's even the UK section over there, from where a navy boat from the UK got involved, and there's a lot of American names on the stones in here. But of course, the majority is the Okinawans and the Japanese.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, so we're looking at names here. Here the names in this section are arranged by which prefecture they came from, people came from. In other places, for example, the Okinawa names are arranged basically in order, alphabetic order, order of the Japanese alphabet. And then there are, as Becca says, there are stones with names of the Americans who lost their lives. Also other nationalities too. Some of the I think crew of British ships that were out here that got destroyed are also listed.
Yeah, I think there was a British Navy ship, I believe, that came to help. Came to help them, was somewhere near Korea maybe, and then it sort of got involved, and quite a few people on this boat died, and so their names are also on the stones. But what's really interesting to me is sort of all of that half that they see right there in front of us is Okinawan, and it's just sort of 250,000 is a quarter of a million. And at the time, there was a population. Okinawa's population at the time was 300,000 people.
Indeed, yeah.
And 150,000 died. So they lost half of their population, and so. If we think about that as today, where there's 1.4 million people here, if we lost half of that,
Well, if you scale it up, scale it up to wherever you are. Scale up to wherever you are and think about half of the population where you are being wiped out in the course of a 3-month battle. 88 days. Think about 1 in every 2 people around you in all your communities in your country gone.
And it's just a whale on such a tiny island. Like, everybody knows everybody. Like, I've only been here for 6 years, and yet the amount of people that have connections to someone and connections to everyone, like, everybody is connected on islands like this, and so it's really quite you can't really quite accept it into your brain.
No, it's and the amazing thing is how resilient, I think, you meet people who went through this, and
So there's over here we have a lot of the Americans in English,
Yeah.
but we have the
yeah, I think what I find is the resilience and the commitment, sort of happiness among Okinawans who went through this experience, and have, you know, worked to build the society that they have today, which is, as we noted earlier, you know, a society that's really focused on looking after each other, with low crime and generally looking after each other. It's and a commitment to world peace, and that's something which I think is just such an important lesson that we can all learn from.
And
Okay.
so what you're looking at in front of you is the flame of peace, and this flame is really interesting because they brought the flame from Hiroshima, where the nuclear bomb was dropped, and Nagasaki, where the other bomb was dropped, and Zamami Island, Akajima, in the Zamami Island sort of sections, where was the first place that the Americans actually made landfall in the Okinawan prefecture, and so it's kind of supposed to be a reminder of sort of how it all happened and how it finished, and not to forget, I guess. And this flame has been burning since 1991, but I can't see a fire now.
It's usually pretty hard to see. We've been down here at night, and we were actually very lucky to be invited down here about 3 years ago to take part in the Ire no Hi memorial event. We actually had just opened our Karate Dojo, the Asato Dojo, at that point, and we were contacted and asked to come down and do a demonstration, which of course we were very happy to do. It was quite an honour, but also, you know, I guess we were a little bit nervous. You know, it was something that was quite out of the ordinary. We brought down our very new students at the time, and they all did fantastically well. But just imagine this scene at night, with very large searchlights set up and beaming up into the sky. I think there were 2 or 3.
There's 4.
There's 4.
No, 5.
Right,
They set them all on the corners of
all
the edge.
beaming up into the sky, and
All of the paths that you see at the edge have got candles lining all the paths. It's really, really quite spectacular. I hope we can maybe bring it to life this year.
Yeah, we were just saying we should come back during Ire no Hi and broadcast that so you guys can see that this year as well. It's quite an amazing sight.
It really shows you, because I've never seen the park as busy as what you see it on Ire no Hi, and you never see so many flowers and so many where they give the sake and the food, and they give it to all their ancestors, and it's just really sort of eye-opening, because whenever we come it's empty, there's nobody here,
Yeah.
so you don't have so much of a connection. But when you see sort of real life people, go to this one.
Let's take a look at the memorial stone here.
I always try to, if I see the old lady selling the flowers, I always try to get some. I feel like it's something we should do.
take a look at some of the names over here as well.
I find it really respectful of the Okinawans to kind of still include all of sort of what you would, I guess, think of as their enemies in this.
Indeed, yeah. I mean, you can only have peace if you embrace both sides, and the monument very much is about recognizing the sacrifice that everybody made, but very much with a view that that never has to happen again. Alright, so we are going to take a look at the view from the point here.
Do we have any questions? Do you guys have any questions about here or anything we should clarify maybe?
Yeah, absolutely. Before from here we're going to start to head out of the park and go towards the waterfall. So yeah, please let's take a break from the walk and yeah, if you have any questions you'd like to ask us.
It can be about anything. It doesn't have to be super sort of sad or anything.
No.
I love this view.
This is just, I think, one of the most stunning bits of coastline in Okinawa. And largely untouched. Nobody really goes down here apart from locals maybe doing a bit of fishing from time to time. So it's a particularly beautiful spot. Wayne says, how far is the park from, say, the Dojo Bar? Well, it used to be, I would say, about 20 kilometres. And it may well be that again. Thank you, Wayne.
It's quite a way out, isn't it, really?
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to head back up towards the Peace Museum here. We're not going to go into the museum today just because of time, and we want to get to the waterfall we want to show you by sunset. The sun is slowly creeping down here. We'll do, Wayne. When we've got something to tell, definitely we'll tell. And we've got a special treat for you. We have a very, very Okinawan style of transport today. A real Okinawan style wagon, so to speak. I'm sure when you see it you'll be amazed. Probably be amazed about how Becca and I both fit inside of it. For those of you that have been to Okinawa, or indeed been to any sort of rural part of Japan, you'll recognise our little truck It's a sturdy little workhorse. At the moment, from time to time, I'll rent one of the local pickup trucks, you know, to get stuff done. And when we ride in that, we really feel like we're kind of almost real Okinawans, right? Okay, so going through the hall here. This is actually the entrance part, and from here you would go right into the museum. We're going to go straight through.
Should we switch it back?
Yeah, let's get to the car.
Okay. So I think from almost any point in the park that you are, because I've got lost here by myself a few times, you can see the memorial building here, almost no matter where you are. So if you're ever lost, just head back wherever you can see this tower, and you'll be all right.
Okay, well here it is.
Do you see it?
Trusty little steed.
We have our little K truck, and just for comparison of size, this is how big it is. Oh, he thought we were going on these motorbikes.
Oh no, one day we'll be lucky to get on a motorbike.
It's got windy down windows and everything. Look, see, you can wind your windows down. Remember them?
Off we go. We've got a little bit of an adventurous drive now.
Hopefully the sound is good. Would you just let us know if you're with us when you come with us, that you can hear us okay? It's very pretty.
Okay, we're going to take the secret shortcut, okay?
I actually didn't know you could get out the park this way. I'm learning new things every day. Wayne's back. Wayne's quite loyal, isn't he?
Wayne's great.
Can you hear us, Wayne? Is it okay?
There we go. Let's see if that gimbal was worth his money.
Maybe this is not a real way out. Maybe it's just your way. It doesn't look like a real road.
Off we go. Between the sugarcane fields.
It's what these vans are really made for.
Oh
traffic no.
Jam. Traffic jam. Traffic jam.
Can you hear us okay, Heinz?
How you doing?
His hat was great. There's a banana trees. Yeah, I love the banana trees with bananas on it.
Come back for that in 2 or 3 months. Your window.
Oh, there's so many solar panels too. Very smart thing to have here in Okinawa.
Yeah.
We were just wondering for our walk whether we should get some solar batteries to keep us connected whilst we're walking. Rely on the sun.
So just to recap, we're doing our long walk in the second week of June, starting on June the 7th. And we're walking for 5 to 6 days. we would love you to come along and help us out. If you're in Okinawa, you can come and join us in person, but also join us and support us online. That would be great too. We are asking for donations, and we're raising money in order to support the running costs of the Asato Dojo.
Yeah, that's the general ethos behind us doing this whole series of tours all around the island, and finishing with a 200-kilometer walk.
Yeah, 117 kilometers just wasn't enough, so we've decided to really go for it this time, and yeah, target 200 kilometers, and I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be hard, but I think it's going to be great fun.
I'm very excited to see a lot of the small unknown places and unexplored places up the north of the island that I haven't seen yet, and I probably imagine a lot of you guys won't have seen yet either. So it really will be quite the adventure. And I've always wanted to do the Matsumoto Kosaku walk, simply to see how far and how it felt to have to get quite so far away from.
I mean, if you wanted the whole experience, we should cut half the finger off as well, and then you have the whole feel of what he was going through, right?
I'm not a warrior like him, so no, I'm all right. I wouldn't fight people with a towel either.
That's right, you fought him with a towel, didn't you?
With a rock in it. That's what it said.
Yeah. Yeah, that's.
I wouldn't fight samurai with a towel.
That's real kobudo. Rock, wrap it in your towel, and use that. That's the way you fight. Yeah.
Is Paul joining us this time? We don't think he is, because he has to work, and lucky for us, this is work. But maybe we can persuade him to have a sick day or 5 and come with us.
We're going to do our best to twist his arm in the nicest possible way.
This seems to be a place of all the trucks. The trucks come here, and here we are. I can hear the ocean, and now. This is James's secret waterfall. It's the first time for me as well.
Yeah. So just amazing.
See the sun. The sun is setting. Says it's dangerous. James just won't let it go. I fell in a river like 2 weeks ago. It wasn't even funny. It was horrible. You have seen the videos of us on the nature. And we're climbing down the bottom of these cliffs.
So there's not many waterfall sites on the southern part of Okinawa. You know, a lot more of them are up in around Nago and Higashi, but this I think is one of the best in the south. It's kind of not exactly a secret, but it's certainly out of the way a little more. But if next time you come to Okinawa, you should definitely come and check it out if you can. It is only a very short drive, as you saw, away from the Peace Park and the main road, so it's actually really easy to get to. And open all the time, no restrictions, but you need to make sure that you wear good shoes and are ready for a bit of a climb, because the path pretty much runs out here. From here on, we're down and over the rocks.
So you guys can't laugh at me if I fall over, okay? You need to be really nice about it.
So I'm going to take the camera now, just to be on the safe side.
It follows you, so don't use the bottom.
Okay. We've got a family here just making their way back up. Looks like they've been doing a bit of fishing. We'll give them a bit of space. Konnichiwa.
So how do we get to the waterfall?
Well, the waterfall is just around here, so we're going to walk down, make our way across the rocks when the family's out of the way here, and go across to about this space over here, where we should be able to get a really nice view of the waterfall. There is another way down here, but it's a little bit slippery.
Well, don't look at me.
Based on your track record.
It's always your guys' ideas to go across the rivers that are flowing with water and
here we
like
go. We'll try
slippery
another
steps.
route. We'll try another route. Here we go. We'll go laterally. Daijoubu, achikara ikimasu. You can see a bit of the waterfall here. So this is, I think, just a wonderful spot. Let's just take a little look around. Just rock pools, beautiful little rock pools everywhere. And the lagoon, wonderful. Shallow lagoon here with the reef out there and the breakers. If you like to come and explore the coastline, if you like to, explore the rock pools. Simon, yes, the water is warm. We're having a few gimbal problems here, but Becca contemplating her next move. Does she jump? Should she jump? Let's take a popular vote. Vote yes if you'd like Becca to jump. No, just being cruel. Just being cruel. What did you find? So I'm just going to unplug our mics so you can get a better feel for the okay. I think you can probably better hear the waterfall now. Konnichiwa. Konnichiwa. Becca's doing her best. She's in explorer mode now. Okay, so just sat down here, we're going handheld. Guys, I hope you really enjoyed the tour. We really enjoy revisiting the Peace Park every time we go, and this is a wonderful spot to finish up at. The water is warm. There's it's such a beautiful place, and so many things to hunt out and explore here too. The sun will be going down over behind us, just behind our shoulder over here soon. Yeah, guys, hope you enjoyed this tour. If you have any questions that you'd like to ask before we go, feel free to chuck those in the chat function now. Let's take a parting look at the waterfall over there. Isn't that fantastic? So I'll make you a promise. If anybody wants to come here and do the Waterfall Sanshin tour or the Waterfall Naihanchi tour, I will be very happy to guide you back down here and we can do that together, okay? Let's make that a highlight of 2022. All right. Okay, guys. Take care of yourselves, and we'll see you online again next week on Thursday when we do something a little different and do a tour of one of the most popular leisure and shopping destinations on Okinawa today, which is Amerikamura and Island Depot. But for now, we'll say goodbye Say goodbye, Becca. All right, bye guys. Take care of yourselves. We'll see you again soon.